Most goals is by AZ and Go Ahead Eagles. So Go Ahead Eagles being a team that was predicted to finish in perhaps 10th or so. Where were they predicted to finish? 14th. They were predicted to finish in 14th place, but somehow they're just behind AZ on the tails and also behind them on the table. Most goals per game, or most points per game is by Feyenoord, and then AZ and Go Ahead Eagles are in there. So these two teams are actually doing quite well with this tactic. It's quite a good tactic for a mid-table underdog team as well. So there's an epic quintuple tactic on FM Scout page that just dropped, and I promise you the tactic creator actually said Erling Haaland went on to score 175 goals with this tactic. So we're here testing it out, and we're midway into the test because Norwegian league actually ends earlier than most of the other leagues in our save, and Rosenborg currently, they're one of the teams that we're testing out the tactic with. They're sitting in first place and they've already won the Norwegian Cup. The other team that we're testing it out with is Ajaxio, Eintracht Braunschweig, Schalke 04, Borussia Dortmund, AZ, Go Ahead Eagles, and Lillestrøm and Rosenborg themselves, like I mentioned before. So looking at the team stats for Rosenborg now, they are currently sitting in second place already. They've had 60 goals, and Lillestrøm are also testing out the tactic, and they have 63 goals currently. And both teams, I tell you, both teams are in first and second place respectively. Looking at the league form for both teams, there was a heavy victory here against Hauschen, 6-1. There's a lot of 6s and 5s in here, 4-2 against ODD. And that's recent as well. Valencia 3-0 against them, and they're actually doing quite well with this tactic. It didn't start out so well at this point, but then as the season went on, they started scoring heavy amount of goals, and that has propelled them all the way to the top of the league table. The tactic is a 4-2-3-1 tactic. The title is actually funny. It goes by the name Down the Drain 2, and then the midfield pairing consists of 2 segundo volantes on attack. Where do you ever see 2 segundo volantes on attack? This is like the first time I've actually ever seen something like this. And to make it even more risky, there are complete wingbacks on attack as well. And then you have 2 inverted wingers ahead of the complete wingbacks. And then you have a super keeper on defend duty, and then your traditional ball winning or ball playing defenders on defend. Your central attacker is an advanced forward on attack duty, and then you have an AP advanced playmaker on attack as well. Those are the instructions for the advanced playmaker, but we're going to go through the tactic in detail. By the way, if you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when more tactic testing videos do come out here on the channel. We're going to zoom to the end of the season and see how well all the other teams that are testing out the tactic go on to do with the tactic, and then we'll break down the tactic in detail and then unbox everybody's instruction, and then you can see how the tactic plays out. So we're back here at the end of the season, and then I'm told that I don't often include the super elite teams in my tactic test, so this time I went on to include PSG, and I kid you not, first of all, you're going to notice Kylian Mbappe went on to score 65 goals in the league. Okay, no, that's not the league alone. This is the entire season, right, for his team. Kylian Mbappe has 65 goals in all competitions, and then PSG are in the Europa League final against Manchester United. How interesting is that? They got knocked out from the Champions League, but this time not in the knockout phase, in the group phase, so they had another opportunity to go on a Europa run or a European run, and then they're meeting Manchester United in the final. That's an interesting one. And then in the league, they had a goal difference of 102. I can only imagine how many goals they did not concede, and then how many goals they went on to score to have a goal difference of 102. That's just crazy. And then looking at the team stats, then looking at all the other competitions, they were in the same group with Liverpool and Inter and Celtic. So they had a goal difference of -1 in there, and then they got knocked out. They missed out, and then Inter qualified. So they're in the Europa League final, like we mentioned. French Cup winner, Trophy de Champion winner. And then looking at the league, drum roll please, PSG had 131 goals. Wow, so they conceded like just 28. How's my math? My math isn't that perfect. But they had a most points per game of 2.7. So this is interesting. PSG are actually doing quite well, but they're expected to win the league. So that's not really. Well, they had a disappointing form in Champions League, but that's interesting for PSG. Another team to look at is Ajaxio. Ajaxio were actually predicted to get relegated and finish in dead last, but they somehow climbed up to 14th. We had a goal difference of -26, so that's really, really bad. But they survived relegation somehow. And then looking at most goals, let's see if Ajaxio were actually somewhere in between. Okay, they had their 10th highest scorers in the French league, but that's enough for France. Now let's look at all the other teams. In Germany, we're going to start with Borussia Dortmund and see how well they're doing. They finished in 4th place. Wow. Leipzig and Bayer 04, Leverkusen, and then Bayern Munich obviously won the league. And then the highest goal scorer is Karim Adeyemi with 33 goals. Wow. Looking at the competitions, then we can see in the team stats, Borussia Dortmund had the highest amount of goals with 81. Schalke are also in the test. They're also testing out the tactic, and then they had the fourth highest with 60 goals. And then, well, not a lot of Dortmund. The Schalke fans are not going to be happy about that. But Bayern Munich dominated in everything else. Looking at the player stats, let's see how well. For player overview, let's see who the top scorer was. Most assists was by Joshua Kimmich, and then most goals was by Michael Fry in Schalke 04, and then Michael Fry and Karim Adeyemi actually first and second. So Fry actually went on to have 30 goals. Karim Adeyemi racked up 25 goals in the league. So your strikers will score goals, that's for certain. With this tactic, your strikers will go on to get you a good amount of goals. And then who else is in the league? Eintracht Braunschweig is in the lower division of Bundesliga. That is Bundesliga 2, right? So Eintracht Braunschweig, they are sitting in 5th place. Yes, 42 goal difference. That's the highest goal difference for a team that actually finished in 5th place. So that's scary in and of itself. Competitions, let's see the team stats for everybody and then see how well Braunschweig actually went on to rack up 86 goals in total. They didn't actually get promoted, but they scored the highest amount of goals. So when it comes to goals, this tactic will get you goals. So you have to be prepared for that somehow. Most points per game was by Fortuna Düsseldorf, Hannover, Heidenheim, HSV, Hamburger were in there as well, and then Braunschweig 1.79. So 1.79 was not even enough to get them high up in the table. Sad for Braunschweig. We have a host of other teams we can actually go into. We're going to peek at them much later. So let's just break down the tactic and see how well the teams actually, or how well the tactics actually put together to see how it's scoring a lot of goals and probably conceding just as many. So, and the sweeper keeper on defend duty is your goalkeeper, and he has been asked to tackle harder. You have your complete wing backs on attack duty, and oh my god, there's so many instructions for the complete wing back on attack. So they've been asked to take more risks, cross more often, cross aim at the center, dribble more, shoot less often, and tackle harder. Both complete wing backs do have identical instructions, by the way. You have your ball playing defenders on defend duty, and they have been asked to dribble more and to tackle harder. This is an interesting tactic. 2 segundo volantes on attack. Both segundo volantes do have identical instructions as well, and they have been asked to take more risks, dribble more, shoot less often, move into channels, and tackle harder. You have your inside forwards, inverted wingers on support duty. They have been asked to get further forward, stay wider, tackle harder. And then you have advanced playmaker on attack duty, get further forward, move into channels, and tackle harder. And then your number 9 is an advanced forward on attack. For the team instructions, the general mentality for this tactic is attacking, and then in possession, the team has been asked to exploit the left and the right flank. So quite similar to another tactic I looked at before. But then there's hit early crosses and then low crosses into the box. Higher tempo with short passing directness. This time the team is actually running at defense and being more disciplined when they're in possession of the ball. In transition, the team has been asked to counter press onto counter, while the goalkeeper has been instructed to roll the ball out, distribute it to the fullbacks, and then distribute it very quickly. This time we can see a huge gap in midfield where the team has been asked to play with a lower defensive line and a high press. So it is going to be quite tricky and really draining on your players physically. So looking at also the team has been asked to trigger press much more often and prevent short goalkeeper distributions. They've also been instructed to tackle the hell out of the opposition, get stuck in, drop off more. So as soon as you lose possession of the ball, there's a counter press, but the team has been asked to defend, drop off into their lower defensive line when that counter press doesn't go on to work. So that's interesting to see how somebody can actually put that together and make it work. I must warn you, from breaking out this tactic as it is right now, is this really suited for elite teams, so I don't really know how this tactic is going to work out with a lower level team. But we're at AZ right now in the Dutch Eredivisie, and then they are sitting pretty in 3rd place. An interesting one to look at is GAE, that's Go Ahead Eagles, Eric Ten Hag's former team. I have to also pitch that in there. And most goals per game has been scored by Feyenoord. AZ has 109 goals. Sorry, not Feyenoord. I was looking at it from another direction. Most goals is by AZ and Go Ahead Eagles. So Go Ahead Eagles being a team that was predicted to finish in perhaps 10th or so. Where were they predicted to finish? 14th. They were predicted to finish in 14th place, but somehow they're just behind AZ on the tails and also behind them on the table. Most goals per game, most points per game is by Feyenoord, and then AZ and Go Ahead Eagles are in there. So these two teams are actually doing quite well with this tactic. It's quite a good tactic for a mid-table underdog team as well. You're going to try to blow out the opposition. We looked at Lillestrøm and Rosenborg SK before, so it's interesting how they went on to do. They do have, I think they're currently in their 2nd season right now. So Rosenborg are sitting in 1st this time around. Oh, again, they're sitting in 1st, Lillestrøm as well. So it's totally dominating in Norway as far as I'm concerned. So if you're playing in Norway, this might be an interesting tactic for you to pick up. If you're playing in Denmark and Sweden as well, you might want to pitch in with this tactic. You could go on to dominate your league. And then Looking at the league table in detail, Rosenborg has only lost once, and Lillestrøm has never actually lost yet with this tactic. So they're doing quite well in their second season so far. The previous season, Rosenborg went on to win it. And the top goal scorer here, we can see from competitions. Let's see who is leading. Rosenborg and Lillestrøm completely dominating the league. There is no debate in this one. This tactic is actually a monster when it comes to playing and dominating, outscoring your opposition. You're going to get that from this tactic. So I'm going to attach a link in the description so you can download this tactic and test it out for yourself and see how it works. And if you're playing in a different Football Manager game, you can follow along with the video and recreate the tactic for yourself and see how it works out for you. That's the second tactic on the list of tactics that I wanted to share with you. More coming on the way. Remember to subscribe to the channel so you can get notified when those tactic videos do come out. I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you later.